Brice, thank you very much for joining in. It's a little bit earlier in the morning, but glad we found a time to make it happen. We try to make this happen in conference, but you know, just time and everything was a little crazy, so it didn't work out. But glad you could join in today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, conference gets a little busy. I think going forward, I should come a few days early, like you and Hutch, Stead, Dustin did. I know they all came a few days early. In the past, I've always showed up the day before and left the day after. So I guess I'm going to have to start coming in few days early to get the networking out of the way because conference stops are pretty long days.
Oh yeah, pretty long days and a lot of people to meet, especially. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, next year, kind of our plan is to actually show up maybe like 3 to 5 days earlier. Cause like also like we've never been to Seattle like that, so I didn't really get a chance to explore. So like between exploration and then like networking with Augusta and then different owners and stuff, get that out the way so that when conference actually starts, we can meet new people and focus on that instead of like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, kind of situations happening.
Yeah, I understand.
Dude. So for the people that don't know you, tell us a little bit about you and kind of what you're up to.
Um, well, I own a lawn care and landscaping company. I started in the industry when I was 12. My dad owned a property management company where he took care of shopping centers, and part of those contracts that he would have was the lawn care and landscaping. But he didn't like that part of the business. He liked the build outs, being like their GM or GC, um, and maintaining the building, fixing concrete, changing light bulbs, as simple as something like that. That's the stuff he enjoyed. So he had me, as soon as I was like 12, handling mowing the properties, doing the landscaping, mulch, trimming the bushes. Nothing, he didn't do any like landscaping, like building retention walls or nothing like that. I mean, it was just managing the shopping center, whatever came in that. So I started in the industry when I was 12, worked for him for 8 years, doing snow removal and lawn care. And then when I was 20, I thought I wanted to just continue what he did. So I approached him, and he was like, I would just say burnout at this point in the sense of he's been doing the same thing for, 20, 25 years. And so he was ready to be done if the opportunity presented itself, and I was ready to get started. So I approached him about purchasing his company from him. Obviously, that would help, him out, my parents out a lot, having some money, some extra money from sale, and then helped me out tremendously for me to start my dream. So I did that at 20 years old. And then after my first year, I realized I really hate because my dad never had me do this. I didn't know I hated it, but I really hated the GC work, the fixing the concrete, the changing the light bulbs, to the fire alarms trip at 1 a.m. The call goes to me because whoever owns the shopping center lives, states away. That stuff just wasn't for me. I did not enjoy it. So after my first year, I switched to what I've been doing for my dad, which was lawn care and landscaping. So I got rid of all his shopping centers except for one. The one was just in my hometown. All the other shopping centers were not in my hometown. So I got rid of those and kept the one in my hometown, and then really focused. I had some money, uh, focused advertising around just doing like what you see a normal lawn care landscaping company do: go cut grass, put down some mulch, landscaping. So I started that when I was 20, did that for 2 years, um, and then I've always been a fan of Mike Andy's content. I was trying to like copy Augusta in a way, like everything Mike said to do, I did. I always believed like if someone was ahead of me in the game, I'm just going to listen to them until for some reason, which I don't believe I'll catch up to Mike Andy's, but my thought is, hey, if you're above me in the game, even not even at Mike Andy's level, even someone lower in that level, I'm going to listen to you and know that you've done something better than me to have a business bigger than mine. So I copied everything Mike said to do on his YouTube channel. Uh, I was failing doing the P for P on a spreadsheet. Um, I don't know. I just overall wasn't feeling like I was doing a great job of implementing the Augusta systems on my own. Maybe, as I look back on it, maybe I wasn't doing as bad as I thought. I only gave it 2 years for me to figure out. But still, I've always wanted to be part of something bigger. It's always been my drive is I don't care to actually be the number one. Like if someone would have presented me an opportunity to do something big, and I was not the owner or the business owner, I would do it if I truly believed this is something we could do big. And I looked at Augusta in that way, like, hey, this is obviously way bigger than myself and what I'm doing with my lawn care company in my hometown. So I joined Augusta when I was 22, which was 3 years ago. So I've been like, November of this past year, 2024 was my 3 years in Augusta. So I'm entering my 4 years, and that's pretty much where I'm at.
Dude, that's crazy. So, running back a little bit, so you basically started the Klausing lawn care, off of the back of like kind of what your dad was doing a little bit, general contracting for shopping centers and stuff. So you just took over that lawn care side, and eventually you said that you bought it from him. I guess just the lawn care side, right?
Well, no, I bought the whole company because yeah, because I thought that I wanted to do the shopping center stuff, uh, the GC stuff. And by the way, you're the only one to really get my last name right without me. I never correct people. I just let them. Yeah, like Lee when he announces me on stage, it's always Clausing, and it's actually Klausing, which I don't. I really don't care. Everyone that I meet for the first time says Clausing, so I'm just I, it's not that big of a deal to me. So for you to sit there and you say Klausing, that was a huge shock for me because no one ever does that.
Yeah, yeah, no, I understand. Some people somehow get my name wrong. Like I don't care either. I don't know how you get my name wrong. It's pretty simple, but I understand. It's a Klausing. I always thought it was Klausing. I don't know why people say Klausing, but
Yeah, everyone I meet for the first time says Klausing, and unless I tell them or someone else tells them, they will. Like Lee, I've never told him that it's Klausing, so it's like 110% not his fault. I should communicate that with them, but I've been so used to it that when it happens, I just like
no, dude. Yeah, yeah. You should probably tell him.
Right.
So first acquisition was from your dad. How much was that for?
So something I don't like. Something I don't like to admit to, but there was other personal reasons into it, so I don't regret it. But he was just me and him, so he did like 180,000 in revenue a year, which a business that size, you will profit 60-70%. So that was plenty of money for my family to live off of. Um, but I bought it for 200, which anyone listening, don't ever do that unless for me there's personal reasons behind it of me helping my family out, helping my father out. So I don't regret it, but don't no one should ever do that. So I bought the whole company for $200,000.
Man, where'd you get that money from? How old were you? Like 20? You said you were 21, 22?
20, yeah. Uh, yeah. He owner financed half of it. Um, so and then the owner finance part of the deal is you know that's it helped me out a lot. Like my interest rate is like 1.7%, and he gave me 7 years to pay it. So it was very favorable. Something that you don't get if you were buying from your father probably. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that's essentially like a free loan.
yeah,
You can look at it like that essentially. That's
yeah.
so cool. And then okay, so you bought it at 20, joined Augusta at 22,
hmm
been here for 3 years. What has happened between that 22 and 25-year-old Brice?
Well, a lot. So um, so my first year, uh, I changed brands, all that stuff. I wasn't that big of a company anyways. I think I was around like 150,000 my first, before joining Augusta. So I'll see, at that time I saved up over like $100,000 in the bank account. So I joined Augusta with cash. I funded the painting and the wrapping of the trucks in cash, and $25,000 in marketing just to introduce myself to the marketplace. I didn't get the greatest returns on that, but you got to think it's your first year introducing a new company to the market. Um, so that allowed me to get over 200,000. I don't know, like 220, I think, or something like that, which isn't fantastic, but um, whatever. And then, just slow growth the next couple years, and then purchased a competitor this past year. That company did over $1 million the year before I purchased them. So I made that acquisition, and then last year, May 15th of 2024, was the closing date. And then so since then till now of February, whatever day it is of 2025, it's just been organizing and the company, because that's obviously a huge jump, and then figuring out how to put people in the right places to continue to grow, because obviously that was an acquisition, so we have debt on that, so we want to grow to be able to pay off that debt faster. um, so yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to in those 3 years.
It sounds like it's a busy 3 years. That's a lot to do. I mean, jump from what, like 150 to 200 to 1.2.
Yeah, well, yeah, well, hopefully, May 15th this year, so a year from the transaction, we're hoping that we have done like 1.5 million. Was our goal when the acquisition happened. So that date's coming up, and I think we'll get it, but it'll be close.
Dude, that's so cool. How did you feel when you got offered that acquisition?
Well, when the idea was brought up and the conversations first started, I was obviously very excited. Um, so yeah, I was very excited. But when the closing date happened, it was like it was more like anxiety than anything. Like, okay, like now I just signed my life away to this bank. It's time to execute. Otherwise, uh, it is going to be a rough next however many years. So, it's obviously, when people online say they make an acquisition like this, people that aren't, let's say, to that point yet, they because I was like this. You dream about, I can't wait till I make my $1 million acquisition, or just get my business over $1 million. And and I was definitely like that, but now doing it, it's way harder than people online that make these deals or whatever, talk about these deals, make it sound. So
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it's not easy, especially that big jump. I mean, this is a huge switch in operations, different switch in marketing, different switch in culture and stuff. So I'm pretty sure that's a bunch of stuff that we're gonna get into. But first, tell me. So from the watching back on your video for the speech and conference, it seemed like this is something that you were looking forward to doing in a way of growing. Just because for the people that don't know, Van Wert, Ohio, is this pretty small town, like a like a freakishly small town, right? So if I'm not mistaken, that the man that sold you his business, that was your biggest competitor in that town.
yeah, yep. So yeah, so Vanware has 10,000 people population. So being over $1 million in lawn care and landscaping, I think he's the only one. I'm confident saying he's the only one over $1 million in my town.
So that essentially makes you the biggest lawn care company in your town.
Yeah, I guess essentially, if yeah, as long as we keep it and maintain it. So yeah.
Dude, that's crazy. I mean, like, that should have hit you at some point, right? Like, oh, I went from like the underdog to pretty much the biggest in my town. Like, that's crazy to say.
Yeah, the only thing is like now I'm going in my first spring rush with this is like attrition. Like that's what I'm most fearful. It's cool. I made the acquisition in May 15th, where people are probably too busy to really shop lawn care and landscaping companies at that time. Where if the deal would have happened March 15th, giving the customer time to shop. So, I'm glad it happened that way, to try to prove how well we do business, how well quality work we have, how well we operate like a big business. So that way, anytime you call, someone answers the phone. You're not always playing phone tag. You can text in. There's a lot of stuff we do for the customers. So like now, going into my first spring rush, now I'm fighting like hell to make sure that we don't have a huge turnover. So like for me, I don't go like, hey, we're the biggest in town. And you know, maybe if we retain a lot of customers and we don't have a big dip this year, maybe that feeling will settle in. But I don't think it will until you know, after the spring rush to see what our turnover was like.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, that's a huge mindset shift actually. That makes a lot of sense. Attrition's probably scared because I
Hmm.
mean, how many out of not all of them are gonna stay.
Yeah.
Some of them are gonna just churn over just because. Um, so that probably sucks. But what's your kind of plan to keep most of them, if not all of them, in the business?
So, constant communication with them. Like we did calls last year to our customers, asking them, you know, it was like in the fall, like, how's this year went? Is there anything we need to change, you know, finishing off this year and going into next year? And we got great feedback from our customers. So, you know, that makes us feel a little better. There wasn't too much complaints. Well, you know, the way the company was that we acquired operated before was definitely like very old school pen and paper. So like they weren't extremely organized where, you know, we have a client portal for them that shows all their past visits, past invoices, uh, remaining balance, whatever they need to know. You know, we have a constant schedule where his was, you know, whenever we get to you. So, you know, we're more organized than what they're used to. The other thing is, and you know, us, you know, we've spent a lot of money in marketing, and and it hasn't been great returns. I believe it's because we're in a small town. There's only so many people, and you know, the smaller population. There's only so many of the people that are looking for lawn care and landscaping companies. Where if you go to Dallas, Texas, or you know, a huge city, Columbus, Ohio, you know, the percent of people and the number of people looking for lawn care and landscaping is way bigger. So it's just a numbers game. So what we're doing this year to try to retain is we're not going to raise prices. We're trying to add no friction into going into our first spring rush with these customers, and then next year reevaluate the pricing. But we're right now we're just trying to retain, because obviously no matter what, some customers are going to leave us, but you know, we want to retain as much as possible because we know our marketing dollars in the past has not returned. It's not like, hey, raise your prices. Even if you lose 20%, you can replace that 20% with the higher price, you know, with marketing dollars of getting new customers. And you know, we just haven't seen that. And I truly think that's a market play. I think Alex Mosey talks about, you know, the hot dog analogy of you know, who sells more hot dogs, the greatest hot dog in the world, or the hot dog stand that's outside of a baseball field of a bunch of drunk and hungry fans walking out of, you know, not the greatest hot dog in the world. So you know, market has a huge play, and I think just the smaller of the town you go into, uh, the harder it is to grow. Where, you know, you can go to a huge populated city and grow pretty quickly with some marketing dollars just because there's so many potential customers out there.
Interesting, interesting. So like that's yeah, so that's an interesting way to say the looking at it. So because your marketing spend hasn't had huge returns, like the returns that you expected years prior, is that why you chose to grow based on acquisition?
Yeah, 100%. Because I didn't, you know, Mike has always preached against acquisition. Not he's not saying don't ever do it. He's just saying like, you know, if you can grow without acquiring a competitor, that's the way you should do it, because just because you acquire a competitor doesn't mean those customers are staying. So I obviously fully agree with a lot of what Mike talks about. So my whole goal was to just grow with marketing spend and, you know, the natural way of growing a business. But, you know, 2 years of spending, you know, I spent $25,000 in the first year, $25,000 second year, and only growing by like 40,000 in top line revenue, and that's with us doing follow up calls and all the stuff Augusta preaches. You know, we were very religious on doing that stuff. The only way to really, I guess, really grow, I guess, was, you know, well, what I was going to say was, you know, be really cheap and just onboard a bunch of customers and raise prices. But we did try that in our first year, being really cheap, um, and it still didn't go well. So yeah, that's the whole reason why I decided to acquire in my town is we were growing really really slow with a lot of marketing dollars being flushed down the drain.
Interesting, interesting. So numbers wise, did the customer acquisition cost from the actual acquisition, was that better than marketing dollars acquisition cost, or was it about
Well,
the same?
I'm not sure because um, I don't know how to calculate the acquisition cost of acquiring because we didn't do just a customer. We didn't just buy the customers. We bought the equipment. We bought the marks. We bought his company. The only thing we didn't buy of his was his land. Um, so I don't know. Our customer acquisition costs that before the acquisition was ranging between $300 and $500 a customer, and we were doing door hangers. We were doing Facebook ads, Google ads. Um, and it takes 8,000, no, not even, probably 7,000 door hangers to hit every home in my town. So it's pretty, yeah, it's pretty easy to hit them multiple times, and we just weren't getting a great return. I think another thing about small towns is they want to know the owner. They want to know who your parents are, where you go to church. Did you play sports in high school? They want to know all that stuff. So like that's what I spent all of last year doing is introducing me to these uh, new customers and telling them about my story and all that stuff to try to build a connection. So yeah, I guess I don't know how to exactly calculate the acquisition costs from the per customer from the acquisition, but
Dude, that's crazy. I mean, the fact that you're saying like with 7,000 door hangers, you can hit your whole town, like that's insane. I mean, this year we're doing just in the spring alone, we're gonna do 15,000 door hangers, and that's like not even at like 10% of like everywhere that we service. So it's actually crazy. Um, it's crazy. I'm
yeah,
just shocked by that.
yeah,
But I mean, it makes sense. So since the population is so low, everybody knows everybody. So I imagine reputation is probably like, if not the first priority on top of like everything else, right? Because if you mess up someone's lawn, like Susie's gonna find out, but then Susie's gonna tell Amanda, and then Amy, and then whatever, and then like next thing you know, like the whole town's like, oh yeah, you messed up, Susie's lawn. That's crazy. Like that, I'm pretty sure that's a big plays a big part into everyday operations, right?
yeah. So like pretty much like the saying like the customer's always right. You have to. I mean, we got totally screwed over by a customer um, last year, and when I was talking to people about how to handle it, I was like, at the end of the day, this is a big person in town. She has a pretty important position in my town. If she decides to talk bad about us or tell her side of the story, that could really hurt us. So I said, even though we have proof and stuff, like if we wanted to take it to court, I guess we'll say, we felt like and I went to my attorney when I was emotional about what this customer did. I went to my attorney and said, do we have a winnable case? And she said yes. And then after I calmed down from my emotions, I was like, you know I don't know if this is smart because this is a pretty important person in my town. Um, so we just ate the bullet and made that customer right. Um, Lost thousands and thousands of dollars on this. So oh well, but I guess that's what we had to do. We had to keep a reputation. We try to just make it where no one no one talks bad about us.
Dude, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, I imagine that's kind of tough to navigate, especially like as a business owner, because like if a customer screws you over, it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth with like pretty much everything else that has to do with that service or like that experience, right? So it's kind of hard to move on from that and still like take the blame, like not basically turn the other cheek and say like, you know what, it's not our fault. Really, you're kind of in the wrong, but whatever. But like in your scenario, it's like 10 times worse, which is it's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, in a big market, word of mouth doesn't spread. Like, I mean, you'd have to do something like really bad for a big market to all hear about you. I mean, there's lawn care companies that are, multiple millions in these huge cities, and not everyone knows who they are. It's just a different game. There's pros and cons of big markets, small markets. Once we get over this hurdle of proving ourselves and introducing ourselves and all that other stuff, you can really own the market. I think turnover is a lot less in a small market once you're established. Where in a big city, it's a way higher rate of turnover. So there's pros and cons to both markets.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you actually say that, like as you were saying that, it kind of something popped in my head. Like for example, I'm trying to, how do I say this? Not compare, but kind of what can I learn from someone in a small market, right? Like when my market's probably 10 times bigger. Like what could I use that you use that could probably work? And I'm thinking like probably just fragment my own market, like probably like break it up into smaller population sizes, and then just treat those as if that was my town. Like you know what I'm saying? Like break it up. For example, like Northern Virginia has like 10, 12 different cities inside of it, right? We're in Alexandria, which is you would say like I guess capital of Northern Virginia, not really, but it's like the most known. And then below you have Mount Vernon, then you have like Springfield right here, and then you have like, Annandale right here, and then you have Falls Church, Tyson's Corner, and then McLean, and like it's just a bunch of different cities, all like 20 minutes away driving, because of the interstates. And so I'm thinking like, okay, if our long term goal is multiple locations around here, probably one per city, that means that our market size per location is probably going to be anywhere from like 40 to 50,000. What can I do now to get ready for when that time to scale happens? Like be as efficient as possible, right? Learning from people like you that are in different markets. Like what kind of strategy could I use? And I'm pretty sure like I don't have the answer yet, but like that's what my brain's processing right now. Because like Mike says, like you, how did he say it? He said, "Don't I forget." It's like boiling the pond. You know what I'm talking about? I forget.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's something about instead of trying to go after the ocean,
Yeah, I
it's something like
forget.
that. Yeah, I know what you're talking about,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah, like yeah, like instead of just going for everybody everywhere, like
mhm.
focus on a small part of it, focus all your marketing dollars on it, and just hit it over and over and over and over again. Like you have no choice but to do that,
Yeah.
right? But like someone in a bigger market has a choice, and it's probably the better choice rather than going all the way around. So honestly, I'd probably try to end up doing something like that. But um, going back to you, um, how was that culture shift, especially in the employees, right? Because you being you coming from like the smaller company, having what maybe like 2 to 3 employees, probably not even, and
Yeah.
then going to acquiring this company that probably has 10 to 12 employees, much different culture than Augusta. How was that culture shift?
Um. Well, we struggled at the beginning, and that was because we didn't have it was our first time doing it. We didn't have a great plan. Um, they were coming from getting paid hourly to me trying to sell them on P for P. And, even with hiring people, off the street, I'll say, you still really got to sell them on P for P because they're just like, their first instincts is, if this system's so great, why doesn't everyone do it? So, what's in it for you guys? What's in it for, there's always those, if this was so great, everyone in the world would do it. So you still gotta sell them. Um, and then just the, feeling each other out portion of it. We were trying to mix the teams to get everyone to know each other. Um, and one thing is everyone saw the bigger company and saw the opportunity because we had one-on-ones with everybody to go over, what happened, why, what's in it for you, what's the future look like, We went over everything. We spent at least an hour with everyone. Some people dragging out longer than an hour. Um, and one thing we preached is this is an opportunity for people to step up and be leaders. Now that this company's bigger and we're going to keep growing. And I think one thing was, everyone was trying to step up and be a leader. And when you say the word leader, I think most people think of a leader tells people what to do and those people listen. When really, what I've been trying to explain to my guys as of late is a leader gets someone to follow them, and it's not by force. I just had to talk to one of my guys. He was just like, these hardscaping jobs would go a lot better if you just tell them that I'm in charge, listen to me, and these jobs will get done so much better. I know what I'm doing. And I had to explain to him that, you know, I don't want a leader within the company that is forcing people to listen to them. I want a leader in the company that, people want to listen to them because they trust them and they respect that individual. And, so there was a lot of friction at the beginning of, hey, the Augusta way is this. Well, the old company way is this. And, unfortunately, that created friction, and really we had to, you know, communicate with the guys about how can we just have our way, because there was a lot of, you know, the company I acquired, those guys saying, well, the Augusta way, they keep doing that the Augusta way. There's terms like that being used, and it could be as simple as a mulch job. We did have conflict of how do we install mulch correctly? Do we use a pitchfork or a shovel? And I said, what if whichever you prefer? I guess I really don't care. Me personally, I prefer a pitchfork. But if you want to use a shovel. I care about the end result of the job. I really don't care what tools it takes to get there. And so they would use the one way is, oh, that's how the Augusta guys does it, and the Augusta guys were like, oh, that's how the Trees guys does it. And so I tried to get the guys to say, hey, how can we stop this, and how can we make things our way? What's our way of doing things? We have a very very young team, like a very young team. Like uh, most of our employees were from 19 to 22, and yeah, with our oldest guy being 27, our second oldest guy being 25. Um, so young team, comes with a little bit more of immaturity of getting worked up over stuff that it doesn't matter, like a pitchfork and a shovel. At the end of the day, it does not matter. I don't care. Uh, so those are just the battles, and there's a trust thing. They trusted the old business owner they worked for. He has proven himself to them, and I haven't. So they're like, "Who is this guy? I've never met this guy. I've never worked for this guy. How does this guy operate? How does So there was a lot of trust that I was trying to have to build with them, and that's mainly what the culture issues was they were forced into this relationship. They didn't volunteer into this relationship. They were forced. So it's up to me to earn their trust and show them that they're a valuable member of the team and that there's a future here if they want it.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I mean, some of that stuff I wouldn't even think of, right? Um, it's interesting how these kind of choices and like whether it's acquisition, whether it's whatever, like it forces you to learn new skills that you probably didn't think about before, right? And like you said, like a leader is someone that people choose to be led by, right? It's not, or like they want to be led by, not someone that forces people to do one thing just because I said so, right? And I feel like in order for that leader to come out, you have to like lay the foundation, like right as the owner, you have to lay the foundation, um, lead by example, and just show what a person like that would look like, would think like, would talk like, and stuff like that. But I mean, very young team. I mean, 19 to 22, 25, 27. Like that's. I mean, I haven't heard of anybody that has a company full of young guys like that. So I'm pretty sure it's how do you manage those relationships? I mean, you being 25, right? You're not even the oldest, but you're not the youngest either. Usually in my experience, Well, actually, nah, not really. It's usually around the same, but like just not that young. Um, how do you manage those relationships? Like obviously you're not 100% of the time in like business owner mode, right? Maybe like mess around with them every now and then, like not so serious and stuff. But like, how do you know when to switch from like, hey, I'm your boss, like some respect or whatever, to when it says like, okay, like we can play around for a bit or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that's something I've struggled with a lot over the past year. I wouldn't say I did a good job of it. It was pretty much trial and error throughout the whole year of me trying to figure out how to connect with these guys. And some have been easier, and everybody's personality is different. So some people it's been easier than others. Some people it takes you just got to communicate. I think there's a great book over this, like Tribal Leadership, I think is the name of it, where it talks about the different personalities of people, and based on their personality, it's how you should approach them. And that's something I need to grow on tremendously, because I saw a certain personality trait that I wasn't doing a good job connecting with. Like the people with the personality trait of like friends I have, obviously that's a comfort spot for me. So that it was easy to connect with them. We had the same interests, we had the same sense of humor, we had the same whatever. Where people, with a different personality, uh, I was struggling to to connect with. And with me, with this being my first year and not even a full year of trying to figure out or well improve my leadership skills, trying to identify people's different personalities, I will say is where I need to take the biggest step this year, because I wouldn't say I did a great job at it. But yeah, I just think it's very hard. I mean, we did games, we have a basketball hoop, Christmas party was just a bunch of games. Um, I try to talk to every guy in the morning before they leave. I think 90% of the time I'm at the shop when they get back. It's just rare occasions, whether an estimate comes up or whatever comes up, that I'm not. Um, so yeah, I'm still figuring that out. I definitely am not in a position to give advice to anyone on that topic, because I'm still trying to figure it out and improve my skill of leadership tremendously.
Interesting. So, yeah, that's a good answer. That's a good way to put it. So as we know, in the different stages of growth, the business owner goes through many different, I guess, like they shed skin, right? At first, you're the operator, you're in operations 24/7, right? From zero to 500. From 500 to 800, you're more of a manager, right? You shed the skin of the operator, you're more of a manager, manage people. And then from 800 and beyond, you're at that architect level, right? You shed the skin of the manager and you become the architect, working on the business, overseeing everything. Where can we improve? Where do we need more help in? Where do we excel? And stuff like that. With this acquisition, what do you think are things that you have to work on in the business? I mean, we've talked some, whether it's, customer retention and stuff like that, but what are some like things or key factors that you think will greatly impact the business in a positive way?
Well, so when I first did this acquisition, I saw the positions that needed filled, and I filled them. And luckily, we had either the talent to fill it, or I knew someone that I could hire to fill that role. And so last year, the main positions that needed to be filled were filled, and these people were operating at a high level. And so I contacted Mike and I said, "Hey, I've never been in this position before. I could go work in the field, but that takes work away from the guys. Um, I could help in the office. That takes work away from the office lady. I could do sales, but that takes work away from my estimator. Um, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, I honestly feel like there's nothing to do, um, which is a great feeling. But you feel, a lot of owners strive for that, but when you're in it, you feel awful. You feel guilty, because you're like, these people are doing all this work for me, and even though that's their job, and they're doing great at it, I feel like I'm doing nothing. And he said, you need to start building if one of those key people would leave. And I think I did not do a good job of that because now this year we'll have turnover like all businesses do. And some of them are key positions. And not that they're leaving, eh, eh, for any awful reason. Some people are going back to college, and other things like that. Some people are moving back home to their family. They've moved here from far away, and they tried it out, and now they want to move back. Um, so once they leave, there's two huge positions that I relied on that there's potential to leave this year, and I don't have a backup. I didn't spend the time last year to train a new estimator because I had an estimator. Um, so there's a lot of things like that will be hurdles this year that I did on myself because I didn't prepare that what if this person would leave. So, that's going to be our biggest struggle this year is filling those spots since I did not do a good job of training people to fill those spots. And then yeah, I think that's besides we already talked on the customers, but I think that's our going to be one of my biggest focuses this year is filling those positions and then training people to fill those positions if the people in those positions would leave or get promoted. My goal is they get promoted. We open a second location, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
Yeah, yeah, especially when capital's a big influencer whether you get to grow a second location or not. So I imagine with the acquisition, the loans and stuff, like it must be tough. It might be pretty tight, especially with all the growth and all the changes that you have to make.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, it was really, really tight. Way more tight when it first happened because I didn't know closing costs between lawyers, accountants, bank fees, and stuff like that would be as high as they were. I almost. I think I got payroll covered 2 days before payroll, so that was for like my first payroll after the acquisition. But right now we're sitting in a good spot. We're just paying like the minimal payment, the payment that's due on the loans right now. Obviously our goal is to pay more than what we have to get this paid off faster. So but right now we're sitting in a good spot, and hopefully the second half of this year we can start making bigger payments on my loans.
Okay, what's the when do you expect to pay those loans off?
um I'm hoping 5 years from the acquisition date.
Okay, so you have like 4 more years.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Okay, cool. And after that's done, or even beforehand, like what are the next steps? What are you looking forward to now that you have what a lot of people dream of, right? $1 million business, and so you're you're knowing you're gonna get everything situated, you're gonna get everything locked in. It might take some time, might take a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of work, but you're gonna get everything locked in. So once everything's locked in the way you want to, like what's the next step?
Expanding, opening more locations. As soon as we plateau as a business, my employees, my guys, my team have no room to grow. And I don't want that for anybody. I want here's an opportunity. It's up to you to go grab it. It's up to you to get the skills to fill this role. But I never want opportunity to not be there for my team, for the people who definitely deserve it.
Interesting. No, that's great. That's great. Um, I mean, where are you thinking of expanding to? Because if I remember correctly in the map, you were like an hour minimum away from like the closest town. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, there's pretty much two options that are within an hour. There's Lima, Ohio, who has like 35,000 population. Then there's Fort Wayne, Indiana, about an hour away, that I think has like a quarter million uh, in population. So it just depends. Like Lima, Ohio, 20 minutes away. I could really manage both locations if anything would happen or emergency would happen. 20 minutes from either one. Obviously, Fort Wayne's the bigger market. probably easier for a startup to go to someone starting at zero to go to a bigger market. So those are two things I'll have to think on and figure out, do I want the closer to locations or do I want the bigger market?
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, talking about that, um, for someone that for someone that's hesitating about starting a business, whether it's lawn care, whether it's a different home service, right? And they're looking at their town, and whether it's a big town or a small town, right? You have an excuse, right? You have like something, right? It's either I'm in a huge town, there's so many competitors around me, like I'm probably not gonna succeed, or I'm in a small town, like I don't think I'm gonna get that many customers, I'm not gonna have enough money or whatever. Like, what would you say to those people that have like they're market afraid, like they're very scared of their market?
So here's how I think I've broken it down, but I'm no market expert, so my opinion may change as someone much smarter than me changes my mind. But I think what I think is the best way to break this down is, if you're a great networker, a social guy, connects with people, small town you could dominate. If you're out going to all the town meetings that are there, wearing your brand stuff, um, showing your face to the people, always posting on Facebook and local community groups and stuff like that. If you're an amazing networker, sales guy, you could dominate a small market. If you know investor type entrepreneur, you want to put money out in and get money out, I'd probably go to a bigger city, where it's more numbers based. Like, hey, if we spend this much in marketing, we can expect this return as long as we do our follow ups. We hit one area many times. There's obviously more to it than that, but um, I think that's how I break it down right now, just from what I've seen. Uh, I think the networker sales guy will succeed in any market, really. But I think an investor type entrepreneur would struggle unless he found someone that is really good at marketing and sales and will work, 12 hours a day, go to these town meetings after work. Unless that investor entrepreneur finds someone to do all that stuff, they would struggle in a small town.
Interesting, interesting. And apart from owning this location and doing everything that you're doing, on top of that, you're also a coach for Augusta Nation. Are you still a coach this year, or I forget?
No, so, I was a coach last year. I stepped down just because, there's a lot of holes in my business, and, I felt like I could do both. I don't think I was able to give the time and attention to the coaching program, that I think one should, because it's such a great program. And like, if because I'm gonna utilize it. I'm a continue to do coaching calls. It's always great to have another set of eyes, a business owner, a successful one. Everyone in the coaching program is a successful business owner, um, or all the coaches. So getting another set of eyes is great. But I just, I told Nick I really don't want to do this because I enjoyed being a coach, and I want to stay being involved at the franchise level. Um, it was a huge decision that I thought about for months because I really, really did not want to leave. But if I was being smart, and prioritizing my business here, I couldn't take my attention anywhere else but to fill these holes, because we're in for a very busy year this year with the holes we have to fill, the stuff we have to do is a lot on my plate, and I wouldn't have gave the attention to the coaching program that one should.
How do you keep track of all these things that you have to do and like not get either overwhelmed or like split focus?
Well, I do get overwhelmed. I do get split focused. Um, I have not mastered that skill. I have not mastered the emotional roller coaster skill. Um, I am far from having anything figured out. Uh, yeah, when I look at Mike Andes, it just makes me realize how crappy of a entrepreneur I am. So I don't know. I keep a different reminders tabs for different things. Whether it's a future work on this in my free time, or if it's a needs to get done today, or if it's an office thing. I have different reminders to as I think of things, put them in there so I don't forget. Otherwise, I'll forget. You know you can tell me to do something 5 minutes from now, and if I get distracted, I'll forget you told me to do that. So if I don't have it in my reminders, I'll 1000% forget about it. So that's I just keep different reminders for different reasons.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think most people feel like, when they look at Mike, they're like, oh man, like, just when I thought I was doing great.
You know, he kicks you down. Mike kicks us down. That's what he does.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He'll hum you real quick. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I mean, I think that's part of that's part of why a lot of people join Augusta, right? Like to have that, I guess, role model in a sense of like, hey, he looks like he figured it out. Like if I'm gonna do this either way for many years to come, might as well do it alongside someone that has figured it out, is where I want to be at, and along the way, there's a bunch of people that are doing the same thing. So
Yeah, and to add on to that, Connor Hutchinson, he made an acquisition the same time I did, but his was for 5 locations. Mine was just for one location. And I was on the call with him, I don't know, like a week ago, and I told him that, when I'm like lost or I feel helpless or I feel like I'm not the man for the job, I think of, wow, all the problems I have in my one singular location, Hutch goes through with 5 locations, and I'm very confident he's going to figure it out. So if he can figure it out in 5 locations, I should be able to figure out one location.
yeah, yeah, no, Hutch is definitely a, I would say a different breed, but I hope I'm the same breed as him because that's also my goal. So we'll see.
Well, don't boost his ego too much. He's already kind
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's already on a high horse, but
of,
nah. But I mean, yeah, that's the good thing. That's the good thing about Augusta. There's a lot of people going through a lot of the same things that you're going through, and if you're the first one that's going through something new, you can look at it as laying the groundwork for everybody else that's gonna come after you. So I think that's um, part of the whole give more than you receive. Part of the whole um just like helping out the community, right? Making the industry better. So
oh yeah.
that's great. Oh man, dude, it's been great. I mean, to wrap it up, I'm starting to always ask this because I feel like a lot of people have a lot of different answers to this question, and it's always interesting to see like kind of like pick inside people's mind when it comes to this. But what would you say is your definition of success?
Oh man, I've gotten asked this question a lot over the last few months, and it always stumps me. And I think the reason why is, when Mike Andes talks about it takes 10 years to build something successful. I'm in year 5, and I really think I'm in the thick of it. Like I'm stressed. I'm not as energetic as I was when I first started the company. Um, yeah, it's just an emotional roller coaster right now. And right now, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm just putting my head down and fighting until hopefully one day I see the light at the end of the tunnel. What I would like success to be is happiness, whatever that means. I don't know what that means right now, just because I'm such in the thick of huge growth and trying to figure out everything. Like I think I suck at everything. Um, so I feel like I have 50 things to work on, and that's really overwhelming. And I'm trying to figure out what's the most important. Um, so I don't know. I would like one day, when it's all said and done, I just hope I'm happy. I guess that's all that matters. Only because happiness is just so far right now. Just because of not to not to create a dark cloud over this, but it's just it's been 5 years of, and 5 years isn't a long time, but it's been 5 years of me not paying myself, reinvesting in the business. 5 years of feeling like I'm not a step ahead, personally, business, like with my skill set, where the business needs to be. Um, yeah, I guess when I see the light at the end of the tunnel of, hey, the business took a turn, and there's systems in place. you know, metrics are constantly improving, great team, I don't know, stuff like that. I think that's when I'll be able to define that better. But I guess right now the only thing I hope for is when I'm done, I'm happy.
When you're done, you're happy. Yeah, I mean, that's I definitely resonate with that. I mean, you're 3-ish years ahead of me wise. I mean, technically second year, but I mean, last year was the first full season, right? Because my first year I started kind of halfway through the spring, so I'm like, yeah, it's like maybe I'll count it, maybe I won't at the end of the day, but um, yeah, I mean, since I started, same thing. Didn't really pay myself at all. Had to figure out how to make ends meet. It's a lot, and I mean, I'm only about to start year 3, and you're in year 5. You're like much ahead of me, so I can only imagine like all the. It's just like you're like bleeding yourself out for a long period of time, hoping that at the end of it, you find the little band-aid that's gonna stop the bleeding and cure you. So
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah, you just don't know how long 10 years is until you do 10 years. Like, I think in my first 3 years, when Mike Andes or Alex Ramosi would be like, hey, it takes 10 years for you to build something special. I'm like, easy, done. And then, you go through the 10 years, and where I'm at right now, even though I don't regret where I'm at and I am happy, I'm satisfied where I'm at, and I am excited for the future because I do believe I have the team to figure it out. I really do believe I have a talented team. Um, but to know I have 5 more years of this probably is like a real kick in the gut. So yeah, you just when you first get in, maybe you should say, "Hey, I'm gonna stick to this for 10 years," but then forget when the 10-year mark is because you'll just be counting down the years, and really you should be just focused on today.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, yeah. Are are you religious?
Yeah,
You you are? Okay.
I'm not as educated as I should be. I just had a talk with someone that unfortunately I've been so focused on work it has taken a step behind my business, which is not something you should ever admit. Um, so just trying to now that that person has pointed that out literally yesterday, which is ironic. Um, now my focus is bringing back that balance that I did have because I was very good at keeping that balance until probably probably this last year. So now that someone pointed it out and I was able to self reflect and realize, yeah, I kind of did put that my business first. Now it's realizing I made that mistake and adjusting.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even really see it as a mistake because I mean, I don't know, how deep into either Christianity or like Christian, right?
Yep.
Or okay, yeah, I don't know how deep in Christianity you are, but like, I mean, like, you know, not to get too much into it, but like God made man in order to work, like literally, like before anything else, before the family, before anything else, like God made man to work. So it's very understandable and very not okay, but like almost a pass that happened. I mean, it happens, right? There's seasons to it, but um, I guess just to let you know, like he will not give you anything that you cannot like that he doesn't know that you will get through and like turn into like 10x, right? So like no matter how big the hump is, you will get over it, right? Like whether you're far from him, whether you're close to him, like he's looking out for you 24/7 literally. And I mean, I would just say like I've I've gone through some stuff in the past couple of months, right? Probably not as bad as you, probably worse. I mean, just really depends how you look at it, but it's it helped me realize that you know sometimes you do have everything that you want in order to be happy, right? And you have everything you need in order for that happiness to have, but we just get really stuck on like these like worldly things, whether it's business, whether it's money, whether it's this and that, and it's like you don't really have the chance to step back and see like wow, like the fact that I even have the chance, or the fact that I'm even talking about doing stuff like that, or the fact that I did stuff like that, like that's insane. It's crazy. Like not even a million years. I mean, like think about it, like numbers wise, percentage wise. I mean, like what? 60, 70, 80% of business owners fail within the first 3 years,
Yeah.
even less within the first five. So like out of like hundreds of thousands, maybe a couple thousand make it to year five. So like the fact that you did is already amazing and like just improves your chances from succeeding. And so I just feel like, whenever I ask people that question, like definition of success, a lot of people say happiness, a lot of people say, wealth, or like being able to financial freedom and stuff like that, right? But I always like the more I ask, the more I start to realize that, I feel like not really saying what the goal should be, but more like material things come and go, right? I feel like we both understand that money is just a tool.
Yeah.
It's not the end goal, but when it comes to happiness, I feel like you are already happy. You have a lot of, I don't know your personal life, but I imagine that, you know, you have happy moments, very happy moments where you forget about everything. And like, I feel like that's what you should hold on to, especially in these times where it gets really, really rough and where it gets like, man, I don't know where the light at the end of the tunnel is. I don't see it. I'm just gonna put my head down and work. I feel like those are the moments that you should really hold on to, because like the moment those moments are gone, it's like you're in a very dark place, right? And so, yeah, I mean, dude, like I feel like just get back into it, man. Like a couple minutes a day, it'll really change your perspective and it'll make you feel a little better.
Yep. Yep. I think that's where I need to improve the most because I did lose. I would. I did lose being happy with the little things. Um, I, I I think this whole past year, I never allowed myself to be happy. Um, I was always stressing. I was always worried. Beyond scared to fail. Um, my main motivation is just from people saying I couldn't do it. Like, everyone says to have something that motivates you or a mission, and a lot of people have, you know, proved the professionalism in the landscaping industry or building houses in Africa or you know stuff that impacts the world. My mission has always been to prove people wrong because I've just gotten that my whole life. And when they say like eventually that will burn you out, I think that's what happens because I just stopped being happy. Um, and then Hutch challenged me to find a mission that I truly believe in. That's more than just proving people wrong. Because obviously that has 110% burnt me out. Um, I haven't found one yet, I guess. Um, Something that is meaningful enough to rally a whole team behind.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I'm still figuring it out as well. I think I might have found it. Um, Definitely we'll see how it goes. I mean, yeah, proving people wrong. I mean, it's something that I've dealt with a lot too. Because I mean, whether it's family members, whether it's friends, whether it's old just people overall, like, yeah, you won't make it. Like, what are you doing? Whatever. It's just it's just tough with all that negativity. But I mean, like, as long as you know what you're doing, and as long as you know what you're doing it for and what the end goal is and how to get there, I think everything's gonna be okay. So it's just find that little light and just follow it.
You know?
Oh well, Bryce, I know you have to go soon, so we'll wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining in. Really like the conversation. Really enjoyed the time with you. Appreciate it a lot.
I appreciate you having me.
All right, thank you.
Well,